Hello, everybody, and welcome to CLX Foundry Live. I am your host, DJ Blue PDX, and of course, joining me live from our studios in Wichita, Kansas, it is our lead technical expert, Paul Steffens, and our master builder, Zach Killingsworth. Gentlemen, we have got some fun to do today, but first, I want to talk about something else that's really fun, and you know what that is? Our giveaway. We are doing a giveaway with some amazing partners. It's absolutely incredible. And if you want to check it out, we may be able to put a picture up right now. For more information about it, type exclamation giveaway in the chat. You can find codes all over the place. On Tuesdays, you can find codes for that gorgeous thing, which will net you not just the PC, but the chair and the Beacon Mix Create Beacon mic. You're getting a whole setup. Now, here's how this works. You're going to be able to find codes today on Kick. On Thursday on Twitch, you'll be able to find them in our social media, possibly at YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or Threads at CLX Gaming. You could also possibly find them inside of our Discord at discord.gg/CLX Gaming. You can also find them in my chat, in which I will be dropping codes as much as possible. So, with that being said, guys, we got a request. We got a request from Chris in Maryland to build him a PC, and I'm pretty sure you've got a rock star of a system. Let's go through what we're going to be putting inside of this beautiful PC.
Yeah, so Chris has configured a Horus off our website. This is a very high-end build here. So starting out with the processor, we've got the AMD Ryzen 9 7950X3D. To cool that, we've got our CLX Quench 360 AIO in black. The motherboard we're going to be using is an Asus Strix B650E-F gaming Wi-Fi. And for our memory, we have 2 sticks of the G-Skill 32GB DDR5 6000 speed. It's the Trident Z5 in black with the RGB heat spread. And for our storage, we have a single 4 terabyte NVMe M.2 drive from Crucial. First time I've seen one of those very large M.2 drive, which will be good. And for our video card, we've got an RTX 4090 from MSI. This is the Supreme that does have the 240 AIO in it, so we'll show that here in a little bit. For our case, we obviously have the Fantex NV5 Black, 8 of our Game DS M3 case fans to go in that. They have a little bit more subtle RGB. These will look nice in this case. And for our power supply, we've got a 1000 watt EVGA 80 plus gold GT.
Nice. This is going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to get this case pulled apart while we're doing that. In the event that you hear a word or phrase or a reference or terminology that you're not familiar with, please ask in the chat. I'll be monitoring all the chats as best as I can. And also, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Trust me, if you're thinking of asking it, somebody else is thinking they're just not brave enough to do so. So be the first person to ask it. Huge shout out and thank you to Lady Death, Violent Echo, Damon of Sin. We've got, obviously we've got Nicole here. Hi, babe. Joey Wiz. Hello. Omek. Bulini over on the green side on the purple. We got Cosworth and Dadzilla KC. What up, Dad? USMC Sergeant. Sir. We got G-Code McGee. Hello. We're taking a look over onto the Facebook side of things. Trevor Samples in the house. You're going to be buying a PC? Heck yes. Looking at all these messages. Zach down at the TikToks. It'll be your first PC ever? Zach. That's going to be fun.
Let's go.
Very nice.
You do stream and make content, so definitely need a PC? Heck yeah, Zach. Well, that's awesome. We're excited to help you out. We've got a lot of people who are looking to just save up and grab themselves a PC, and now is the perfect time. I love it. I do know that notification, and that is the person's tag, is that they're also going to get to buy a PC. Yeah, PCs are essential when it comes to streaming. You just, especially if you're a PC gamer. So, yeah. Dadzilla says, DJ Zach and Paul's beard, hello.
What up, Dadzilla?
Okay, so let's go ahead and kick off with what we've got for our motherboard. Now, this is a pretty awesome motherboard. This is a Asus ROG Strix V650EF Wi-Fi gaming ATX board. Now, this has a whole lot of fun. Look at the design on the back. It's actually pretty gorgeous. But let's take a look at the side at our I/O shield and see what we've got for connectivity. All right, so at the very top, we've got our HDMI and our DisplayPort, obviously. Down below there, you've got your 4 3.2 Gen 1 ports. They're all Type A's. Then you've got 3 USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports, and the USB-C one is the one down there below the RJ, yes, is your 2x2 So that means 10 gigs up, 10 gigs down. You've got your Ethernet port, which is 2.5 gig, if I'm not mistaken. You've got your Wi-Fi antennas, and then you've got your array of sound down there, which is absolutely incredible. I dig it. And of course, this is Wi-Fi 6.E, Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth version 5.2. Alrighty. Headstrong Inc. Hello, welcome. What's up, Firecracker? How you doing? Sharks and a tornado. Yes, Dame of Sin. Absolutely. What up, games? We are doing well. All right. You know, it's also doing well. This beautiful processor that Zach's holding in his hand. So this actually is an AMD Ryzen 9 7950X3D. I feel like this is like the most powerful processor they've got for people on the for the commercial side. Paul, tell us about this PC.
Yeah.
This CPU.
Yeah, this is a very high-end processor here from AMD. It's got 16 cores and 32 threads, a base speed of 4.2, and it will boost up to 5.7. Really great processor for gaming, streaming, and a whole bunch of other things.
Zach on TikTok been saving up for a PC, and then somebody donated to him. We're so excited. We would love to help you with you getting your very first PC. Over on the Facebook side, Kyle mentions, never had a PC before. What's solid mid-range pre-build you have for today's games? I don't stream, so I won't need that. Ooh, that's a good question. Our RTS or ready-to-ship builds are amazing. Have you been over to clxgaming.com? Definitely check that out. It's a lot of options, but he does bring up a good point, Paul. What will be a good mid-tier range that's able and capable of handling at least 1080 gaming across the board?
Yeah, so something like a Intel i5 or Ryzen 5 paired with a 4060 is probably where I would start with the recommendation. Like DJ said, our RTS has it organized by high-end, ultra high-end, mid-tier, and so on. And so if you want to just browse through those, that'll give you a really good set of options to pick from, and you can find one that fits your budget.
Nice. Bulini says, what? You're really using that. When will the entry be picked? We'll do that at the beginning of next month. We usually do about a 30-day-ish, 27-day-ish, whatever. So, yeah, there we go. Now, what we've got sitting here is actually really cool. This is a AIO. So it is a liquid cooler that's going to go on top of there. For the AIO, we have chosen a CLX Quench 360 closed loop liquid cooler. And for those of you who may be unfamiliar with what that means, since you can't see any liquid, Paul, what's an AIO and how many different ways are there to cool a processor?
Yeah, so an AIO stands for all-in-one. That's what we have right here that Zach is installing. So this comes out of the box ready to go. There's already coolant inside of here. We won't need to add or do anything to it for the entire life of the cooler. So these things are great to install and provide really good cooling. So they typically come with 4 to 5 different sets of hardware, sometimes 3. You just grab the bag of hardware that matches your motherboard chipset like Zach has right here, install the back plate and put these screws on and you're good to go. Liquid cooling can be kind of intimidating to get into, but I promise you these AIOs are very easy to install.
They definitely are. You feel like you're on incognito? I feel like incognito is a word that I apparently had trouble saying today, which is awkward. So, good Lord. Your Kyle mentions over on the blue side, if my PS5 craps out, you guys are my first stop for a PC. Thank you. We appreciate that. I mean, we don't appreciate the fact that your PlayStation died, but, also, we're here to help. Kyle mentions, I think I looked at the Horus. Looks solid. I just know nothing of today's PCs. Appreciate the tips, folks. Seeing good things about your builds. Well, we're glad to hear that. Thank you so much. That is awesome. All right, now we've got this down in there. What's next? Okay, we'll do our RAM. One thing that is not related to Dodge at all is our RAM. It is 32 gig sticks of G.Skill DDR5 6000 for a total of 64 gigs of dual channel memory in our 2 and 4 slot. Now this, I believe. Oh, where's mine? Oh no, mine's Fury. But yeah, I did the same thing, except for I did it with 4 16s. So, Paul, is there anything we should know about using 416s versus 232s.
Yeah, so on paper, if you ran some tests, the 416s are going to perform slightly better than the 232s. However, I prefer to go with an amount that leaves you with a couple slots open. That way, if you want to upgrade later in the future, you've got the option to. And really, when it comes to frame rate in games, I don't notice a difference between two sticks of 32 versus 4 sticks of 16.
Got it. And sophisticated nerds, like there's nothing more satisfying to drop in than new RAM sticks. Love it. Love it. Now, speaking of new things, we're going to have to put an operating system on something, and I have one of these myself for my game drive. This is a 4 terabyte Crucial P3 PCIe and NVMe M.2 SSD. Although I think mine's a Kingston, but it is a 4 terabyte. And that M.2 is super fast. Now, there's several different types of hard drives. Before we do that, let's talk about what Zach is doing right now. So if you get a brand new motherboard, Zach, what are some things to keep in mind when you're assembling everything?
Definitely want to peel off all of the peels on our thermal pads for our NVMe storage devices, and then all of the clear strips that were on top of the motherboard as well.
There we go. Now, an M.2 is a different type of hard drive. Paul, what kind of hard drives are there, and what are the benefits of having one over the other?
Yeah, so this is an SSD or a solid state drive, which means there's no moving parts in it, and essentially what that means is this is going to be a blazing fast drive. So there's a few different types of SSDs. 2.5 inch was one that was more popular a year or so ago, and these M.2s have really kind of taken over. So when I say M.2, I'm talking about the form factor. Kind of looks like a little stick of gum, goes in a slot on the motherboard. Put the heat sink on. Sometimes there isn't a heat sink, it's not necessary, but if your motherboard's got one, it's always nice to have. Then the other types of drive are like the hard disk drives, which are the old spinning drives that we all used to use. Those are still used for like extra storage, but we definitely want our operating system on the fast drives that our boot times are very fast, and then you can always fit a few games on there as well. That way you don't have any load screens in games.
Yep. Cosworth mentions I'll be back up and running mid-August. As I said, screw it. I'm going to go for a 7800X 3D processor. Well done, dude. That'll definitely fix your problem. Nice. Now, as you can see, we're beginning 3 of the 8 fans we'll be using for this to be cooling it. These are GameBeast Aeolus M3 ARGB fans. So when it comes to fans, what are some recommendations that people are looking for fans and some installation tips in case somebody's never done it before?
Yeah, so the biggest thing with fans when you're installing them is you want to know which way the air is going to flow. So if you can see the fan grills right here, that's where the air is going to come out of. So we're actually going to be pulling air through this radiator, which typically we like to do a push, but since this liquid cooler also has an AIO built into it, we're going to set the fans up a little bit differently in this case.
That's going to be awesome. Gonna be fun. Let's see. Say that 5 times fast, and you do. I would prefer not to. Thank you. Now, as for the case itself, which is what we're about to get started with, this, of course, is our Horus. It is an NV5. It's the younger sibling to the NV7 that you've seen us build before, which is huge and tall. Paul, what are some really cool features about this case specifically?
So for me, what I love about this case is there's no post right here, you can see. So our glass has like no seam between the side and the front. That's what I really like of it. It's a good size. The NV7 is also a great case, but it is pretty large. I think this case just looks really cool. So
that is awesome. Now, as you saw, we watched Zach just drop that right in there, and if you notice, there were little tabs, little bumps, metal bumpers that look like that. You can see them right there. They're screwing into, and those are called what, Paul?
Those are standoffs. So yeah, this is a great shot to see Zach screwing in our motherboard mounting screw into the standoff. So our motherboard actually is sitting on top of those. And the reason those are there is we don't want to have the motherboard touching the bare metal of the chassis, because that can cause things to short out and cause issues. So you definitely want to make sure you've got your standoffs in the right spots. Missing one is okay, but having an extra one in a spot where there isn't a motherboard mounting screw can cause you issues.
Now, do you want to make sure that you have all the standoffs in the right place? What if you have a standoff in the wrong place?
So if you have one in the wrong spot where there isn't a motherboard hole, that's going to be metal contacting the back of your motherboard where it shouldn't. So it can cause some shorting out. And if you don't have one, it's just one less screw that your motherboard is mounting. There's probably people out there that will put like 2 motherboard mounting screws in and call it good. I'd probably recommend just installing all of them if you're doing it, but you know, you do you.
Absolutely. Now, one of the upsides of this motherboard is that is not the only M.2 slot, if I'm not mistaken. I believe this can take, it has 3 different M.2 slots, and then it's got a whole ton of SATA connections, but those 2 are down there below. You can see them right there near the south bridge. And that's where those go. Okay. So we're going to be putting in our AIO, and this is our 360 liquid-cooled pump. How do you know the best place to put it? And are there any rules when you're installing an AIO?
Yes, there are a couple, Zach. I'm going to rotate this just slightly. So for AIO, if you guys have watched the show before, we've done a lot of NV5s, and typically when we have a 360, we like to put it up top. Now with this build, we have a AIO attached to our 4090, which I'll just show right here. So you can see we got to have a spot to mount this radiator for the video card, which we usually don't have to worry about. So we are going to put it in the side of the case, and what we're thinking about here is we just want the top of our cooler, where these tubes go in, to be above the pump. And that is because there's always going to be a little bit amount of air in these AIOs, and we want to prevent that air from going into the pump. That's why you usually see us put it in the top, and the whole thing's up top. But in this case, we're putting it here, just keeping in mind that our tubes are above our pump.
Yes, absolutely. Did I miss a code? Not to my knowledge there, Sasko. We also got Otis Scapsi, Source Van Croy on the over the purple side. Reviewers for the tube, monster build. Yeah, it's actually this is going to be a beautiful build.
Yeah, this is a beast of a build right here.
Soda! Hello! Soda plays the ultimate in Sherpas when it comes to all things Destiny. Much love, dude. Hope you're enjoying the new season. Okay. Now, one thing I will say about this case, it's really cool. If you'll notice, there's this, like, it looks like there's a box down at the very bottom. That angled element right there. It looks like something out of Tron. Well, that front ring is actually an LED strip that will light up with the actual case themes. And underneath there is actually where your power supply goes. Paul, why would you separate a power supply out of the rest of the PC?
So there's a couple of reasons you would do that. We see a lot of cases come with these PSU shrouds. That's what this is called. So our power supply's got its own, so our power supply is going to get its own air from down here and spit it out the back. So none of the heat from the power supply is going to come into the main body of the case.
There we go. Wow. Okay, now one cool thing that we've noticed here that's being done is the use of these Velcro straps. These are pretty awesome. Fantex did a great job with this. And Zach, why are those important?
I like the Velcro straps because they work in tandem really well with zip ties. The zip ties, get your cables looking really good, but the Velcro straps and the plastic ribs that they put inside the Fantex cases, they allow for just much more precision on getting the cable into the build, so it looks even cleaner on the inside.
Antoine Santos says, how many days does it take to send a PC? That's a good question.
So it depends. If you order an RTS off our website, we're going to ship it out either same day or the next day. If you do a custom build, it just depends on parts availabilities and stuff, but you will get an estimation of a ship date when you place your order. I believe right now we're probably within the 5 business days to get your system totally custom built, tested, and shipped out to you.
Nice. Are there any benefits to putting the SSD on specific M.2 ports, or is that motherboard specific? Ooh, good question, Bro Condom.
So the general rule of thumb for an M.2 is to put it in the highest slot closest to the CPU. So you can see that's why we use this one right here. Now if we had multiples, we would want to put our faster drive up here, because typically that slot, maybe that slot's a Gen 5 and the others are Gen 4s. Some motherboards, all the M.2 slots won't have the same generation as far as transfer speed goes, and typically the top one is the faster one. So that's why we put it up there.
There we go. Now, one thing to notice about the way this case sits, you'll notice that it's higher on the back and lower in the front. That's going to give you a little bit of airflow. It's going to pull it in from behind the case. But that also brings up another question, and that is, when you're putting your case down, where should you put it just to ensure that it gets really good airflow?
Yeah, so for this case, we obviously have an intake fan down here with our other intake fans being on the side. So we want this area under the case to be as unobstructed as possible. So any flat surface like this mat, or, you know, a concrete floor, wood floor, tile, whatever you got, you know, you don't want this area to have any obstructions. That way your fans can breathe properly and everything can stay cool.
Yeah. Good question coming in from Potatonator. Do you guys have do you do partial builds? Like, I have some parts, but not at all.
So that's typically not something we do. We mainly do full builds. That being said, if you've got like a video card at home that you want to use, but you want us to, you know, get the rest of the parts from us and have us built it, you can reach out to our support team and they might be able to get you set up. I know we've done stuff like that in the past.
I did one last week. The customer had a 4090 Tough Edition, so I just built literally everything minus the graphics card. I had the anti-sag bracket installed and the cable installed and tied up, so all the customer had to do was just
put their card
slap the card in and then plug it in, literally. Like,
that is a kind of a special request type thing. So if that is what you're interested in, definitely reach out to support before ordering your machine.
Or order a second graphics card
Yeah,
and then mail that to
us.
somebody.
Sophisticated Nerd asked over on the TikTok side, says, do you all have a recommended pre-build for streamers? I have an older CLX Horus, just wondering. We have tons of pre-builds. Streaming doesn't take a massive amount of power per se. It's more bandwidth based. Like, I'm running an old Ryzen 5 3600X, I want to say. And it does, I mean, it's definitely on its last leg, but it works just fine. I think I have 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM. The key is having a really good capture card. I always go AverMedia personally, but yeah, that plus good bandwidth, you should be solid. So, Paul, when it comes to that kind of prescription, what do you think is a really good mid-range build for streaming?
So if you're wanting to game and stream on the same PC, we've got a few different good options. If you want to start looking at our RTS and start there, you could customize it further based on your needs. It's going to come down to, do you want to stream in 1080 or what do you play the games in? Because the higher resolution on streaming and gaming, obviously you're going to need a more powerful PC.
Correct. Okay, getting that final fan down there installed. We still got one on the exhaust.
Cruising right along, Zach.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely. Spin that around. We've got now just the top fans. Well, technically, we only have. We still have to do the graphics card mount.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because this is, well, we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, you guys also make 2-in-1 PC for streaming. We do. It's called a Hawthorne. It is called a Hawthorne. We haven't built a Hawthorne on stream in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done one of those.
Actually, I will do all of those together so I know which front or back.
Think he was up. So let's talk real quick about this incredible graphics card, because honestly, this thing is wicked. This is a MSI GeForce RTX 4090 Supreme Liquid. This is obviously a 4090, 24 gigs of video RAM, but unlike the full-size 4090, this is much smaller, thinner, one fan, and it's got its radiator on there, which we'll be attaching fans to and positioning at the top. My question to Paul is, how does this change the weight of the card, and the efficiency of the card.
Yeah, so this is a pretty heavy card. Now you can see for a 4090, it's a little bit shorter than you would expect, but since we've got a bigger plate on there, the weight, it is a pretty heavy card. This has air cooling and liquid cooling. This fan will help keep things cool while the liquid does most of the work. So.
There we go. Get that all popped in there. Now, this is the first time we've done that first, but I think it's because we've got to deal with the radiator.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, it's kind of fun getting a little bit different part. We'll change the build up a little bit.
Nice. Oh, I missed a question, apparently. Oh, no, I didn't. Cool. Well, there we go. Now, as we're getting this up here, once again, we want to make sure that the radiator is above the pump, and that pump would be the one literally loaded that goes into the graphics card, correct?
Correct, yep.
Got it. This is going to be really cool. So when it comes to the cooling potential of a liquid-cooled graphics card, how different do you think that'll affect it as opposed to like a triple fan?
So the liquid cooler, the video cards with the liquid coolers built into them are going to run quite a bit cooler. Now they still might reach the same temperatures, but even if they did, that means that card is working way harder than one with just fans on it. So it allows you to just game even harder.
Nice. Nice.
That sounds good to me. It's always kind of fun getting these in. You can see Zach's working it around, seeing which way we want the tubes to be and make it look nice.
Awesome. I'm jazzed. Like, I always wondered what it would be like to have a 3090 liquid cooled. Because I think we've done that before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those have had liquid coolers. They're really great if you plan on overclocking your card. You can push that overclock even further by having the AIO built in.
Okay. As it's getting that on there, we've got still a power supply to go with. But this is a good shot right here at this angle. Paul, what are those ports there on the top?
Yeah, so up here, these are our USB. We've got two USB 3s and a Type-C, then a headset and mic port, followed by our power button, reset button, and a couple lighting and fan buttons as well.
There we go. So we'll get that on there. The next thing up is we've got to talk about a power supply. How are we going to power this beast? And that is going to be something we're going to chit-chat about. For our power supply, we've got 1,000 watt EVGA Supernova G5. This is an 80 plus gold model. And what kind of a power supply do you think this is?
So this is a fully modular power supply from EVGA.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of fully powered, let's talk about that code that Ivor just dropped. That is AFYS-GASD, GAS D, Golf Alpha Sierra Delta. All right. Now, when it comes to modulars, why are they important? How do they differ from other types of power supplies?
So modular power supplies are unique in that none of the cables are pre-soldered in. So you can see I grabbed our cable bundle right here. These will be the cables for it. And then we've just got our power supply brick here. So once I get this off, I can show you a little bit more how this works. So here is our power supply. So what makes it modular? We have all these ports here that our cables will plug into. Now we're not going to be using all of these. I don't think I've ever seen a build that has used every single port on a modular power supply, but it's there if you need it. So I will go through the cables here, grab the ones we need for this build. We'll get those plugged in and taken care of, and the rest will be in the accessory bag in case the customer ever upgrades and needs them later on.
Nice. Nice. This looks so different. Oh, it's on its side. I was like, why is there a radiator on the top? What happened? but then I realized he'd laid it over to the side. One thing to keep in mind is that this is what we consider like a 2/3 or a 1/4 build, because the motherboard doesn't sit directly on the back of the case. But I mean, it's a little closer to the back than we've seen in others. But Paul, why is that important? How does that help?
Yeah, so that gives us all this room back here for a couple things. Now, if you've seen the NV5 before, you know there's a door that goes here. We'll put that on at the end, and that gives us room for extra 3.5-inch and 2.5-inch drives. And then also, by having it just recessed a little bit, gives us a good area to manage our cables.
Nice. Okay. Now that we're back right side up, you can see where you've still got that lower PCIe, the short one and the long one. What's the difference between the short one and the long one?
For the PCIe ports, those are those are for different size cards. So the long one is going to be a PCIe by 16, and that short one is going to be a PCIe by 1. Now there is a by 4 and by 8. However, those are pretty uncommon nowadays. So those are for, the by 1, you can do like a wireless card. This board already has wireless, so we don't need that. A capture card, stuff like that.
Awesome. Okay, now we're getting the top of that all aligned and put together. This is going to look cool, to be very honest. I'm so not used to seeing the tubes coming out of the graphics card. It's great. Now, when it comes to power for the graphics card, 4090s are well known for being power-hungry creatures. So what are we going to do about that when it comes to how to connect it?
So the power supply, or the video card, is going to take the new 16-pin power connector, and we're going to be using 4 8-pins to power that. So we will be using this dongle on this build.
Perfect. I don't think I was able to wake Violent Echo up. Timtastic, I believe that was GASD. The code was AFIS, AFYS, Alpha Foxtrot, Yellow Sierra, and then dash GASD. That's Golf Alpha Sierra Delta. Aw, there we go. All right. So now we've got all the cables down on the back. Oh my goodness. I don't know what is happening upstairs. My dog is definitely moving the furniture.
He partying. Dad's gone.
Well, if he doesn't like where the couch is, he will literally grab it and drag it into the middle of the floor.
Wow.
It's just like, oh, well, I mean, he's 200 pounds of fun-ishness. Yes. Good grief. So hopefully everybody had a good Father's Day. By the way, happy Father's Day to anybody who is a dad in the house.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, the Nintendo Direct was happening today. We also last week got privileged to be able to witness the Xbox showcase, the Ubisoft Forward showcase. Lots of new cool things coming. Critical Point View, June code today. I mean, we've already given a code out, but today's codes go out on the kick side when it comes to CLX. Just had an issue trying to post the code to the Gleam page for a giveaway. If it logs back out. Yeah. Thanks, Dads. You're welcome, son. Yeah, and I've heard that happened to multiple people. Again. Reload it, log out, reload, log back in. Should technically fix it. So Zach, when it comes to getting the cable management done for all the little accessories inside of the build, what are some best practices?
So the way I like to kind of set everything up and prep everything is rules of 3, the rule of thirds, right? There are 3 cables in the build. One of them is your case cables. The other one is your fan cables, and the other one is all of your power cables. So with power cables, just like having all of them organized makes it a lot easier to work on, maintain, troubleshoot, do all the fun stuff by having them all separated out. Just makes it a little bit easier for if you have to get in, you don't have to undo your entire tie-up to work get that fix. Yeah.
Nice. And one thing to keep in mind is if you have to update or upgrade something in your system, which does happen periodically, especially for some of you who've had a system from us for a couple of years, what's your best advice there, Paul?
If you want to upgrade your system, so if you got to mess with the cables when you're upgrading, say you're getting a new video card and you need extra power cable, stuff like that, I would recommend taking a picture of the build or the back of the case before you unplug anything. That way you know how things go when you put everything back together to make your life a whole lot easier.
Yes.
Could say
yes, they do.
Call in and ask for help.
Yeah, you can
15 years
definitely
down the road from them purchasing a computer.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite.
Yep.
You got
Please
us
call
forever.
Please call me in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Well, let's see. It's from Turkey. We are building PCs today. That's what we do here. We're a PC company. Okay. Now, you'll notice that the little box that Zach has been playing with is now been attached to the back of the motherboard. Is there any reason to be concerned about that?
Yes. If our controller was not in a box, i.e. if we had just the PCB controller, we do not want to put that onto the back of the motherboard. Essentially what our plastic housing is doing is it is acting as a standoff, so there is no possible connections for power to transfer from this box to our motherboard, causing any incidents. But if it was a naked board, then yes, that is where we would need to relocate it and find a better position for it.
And again, if your board is naked, get it some shorts or something. The one and only few mentions, so one of my fans isn't spinning. How do I fix it? Good question.
So it could be a few different things there. It could be just a loose connection, which would be the first thing I would check. Open up your build, follow that wire back to wherever it's plugged in. If it's an RGB fan, it might be some sort of box like Zach was just working on. Every company has a different way of doing it. Or if it's a regular fan, or even some RGB fans, it could be just a 3 or a 4-pin fan header on a motherboard. So I would first check that, unplug it, plug it back in. Maybe it's loose and that gets it working. If you've done that, it might be time to get a new fan and you'll just have to replace it.
We did have a good question coming in from Violent Echo. How do you find out if an AIO is too big for your case?
That is a good question. So the first thing to look at is, like, let's say on this case, we're wondering it can fit a 360. First, you want to look at, is there any place to even mount 3 fans? So like here we go, there's, we can mount 3 fans here and on top of this case. That's the first thing you want to see, but that doesn't always guarantee that an AIO will fit there. Obviously, when you install an AIO with fans, it's quite a bit wider than just fans. So the case manufacturers will have a detailed description on their website or in a manual, or it's even on the box if you have it physically in front of you. If you're shopping for one in a store, it will say if it can fit an AIO or not. If you're not sure and you've looked at all those, just hit us up on Discord. We can probably let you know on there.
Accurate. Very accurate. Oh my lord. Just posted the build in our Discord? Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've got a whole section in there for people posting their setups. Just grand. I'm going to have to step away for a quick moment because I've got a dog that is barking at me, and which means he's got to go out. And I already let him out, like right before the show.
So,
thank you so much. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
1001, 1000.
What do you guys want to talk about now that DJ's gone? Him and his mini horses up there. Mm-hmm. You got the Great Danes. We've got, just looks like, what, one more cable on that box there, Zach?
Yep. There we go.
So yeah, we got everything on the fan box plugged in, so all of our fans are taken care of. All those cables are managed, as you all can see, and our case cables are managed. So this comes down to our power supply. We'll get this installed, and then we'll pretty much be there. So one great thing with these modular power supplies is I'm assuming Zach's going to plug in a few of these cables without having our power supply installed first. So that's why we like going with modular. You can see we're going to start with the CPU cables here. It's nice to just be able to grab the cable, run it through the case, plug it in, and then you can plug it into the power supply, as opposed to having to put the power supply in, manage all those cables, and then get it plugged in. What's up, Zombie? Strange question. Have y'all heard of any AORS boards randomly losing ARGB control? I have not heard of them randomly using ARGB control. I know with RGB from everywhere, sometimes it can be pretty finicky depending on the software that you use. You could definitely hit up Eddie. We just had him on the show recently from AORS over in his Discord. I'm sure he could help you out with that as well. Headstrong asks, what's the biggest build we have done? So probably the Elites. I don't know if you want to talk about a big build you've done, Zach.
I build big servers.
Those are huge.
Build big fun servers. Those I like. And then big cases would be the Fantex Intho Elite, and then the Corsair 1000D.
Yeah, the 1000D, the Obsidian, I believe. Obsidian line.
That thing is ginormous.
Those things are huge. Those things get really cool when you start doing an open loop where we custom bend the tubes and all that. Those things come out looking great. That Fantex Elite just is so, that case is huge. People will be putting like Gundam action figures inside. There's so much room. You put a 360 AIO in there and it makes it look small. Alright, so CPU cables are installed on the motherboard. Obviously these are the ends that go into the power supply, and now we're going to do the 24 pin for the motherboard. It's really nice. I know I said it before, but it's just so nice to be able to work these cables without them being plugged into a big heavy box. We got 3 more days till Elden Ring DLC. What can I get for you, Zach? I've got the dongle and the 4 for that.
Okay, let's do these guys first. Actually, let's. Why do they have different lengths?
So they have these because the longer ones are the single. So I use the 2 signals in this. We could run 3 of these in one single, but yeah, I don't really like it. So we're looking at plugging in our video card right here. What's up, DJ? Welcome back.
Sorry, appreciate you guys giving me the moment to run up there.
I don't like that either. But yeah.
We'll plug
All right. Now we're gonna need a lot of power for this, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming we're gonna need the whole 4. What is it? Because 16 to 8. How does that work out?
So this is 4 8-pin power connectors going into the new power connector for these video cards. Now some power supplies come with this cable to where it's just one cable. Some don't. I really like it when they do because it's just less cables we have to run. However, it is what it is. So we've got 4 8-pin video power cables coming out of our power supply that will be going into this dongle. You guys will see it here in a little bit once we get everything in and plugged in.
Oh, yes. To answer your question, obviously, clearly, I'm excessively bald. But I did manage to miss a code. Let's shout that out real quick. Over here on the green side, it is Ryzen RYZN dash BRBN, as in be right back never. Or be right back now. Be right back Nevada. Or bourbon. There it is. There it is. Got it. Yeah, I don't know what he ate, but good Lord, I'm so glad that I listened to him bark and didn't ignore it. Strange question, Zombie Rain asks, have y'all heard of any Aorus boards randomly losing ARGB control? I have not.
I have not. I did read that question while you were out, DJ. I did.
Sorry about that.
I did say no. You're good. You're good. I was saying as well. We just had Eddie on the show, so he would be a good person to ask as well. I hadn't heard of any of those issues before either, but I know Eddie's got the Aorus Discord over there. You could always hop in there, say hi.
Yes. My game, yes, I'll be streaming after we finish the first part of the show today. We got some games to play. I got a code to give out. It'll be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. We'll do that after Zach has finished building a whole bunch of cool things this afternoon, which will be grand. All right, getting all those final pieces hooked up. Now, what do you do with the extra cables that you're not using?
So those, since it's the modular power supply, the extras will just be going in the accessory bag with the system, so we won't have to bundle them up and tuck them away anywhere. They'll just be ready for if the customer ever upgrades and needs them.
Nice. That is awesome. All right, we're getting to our final thing. I love the fact we can see that PC back there, the giveaway PC that was just behind Zach. Freaking awesome. It's so cool. Finally, a code you can remember? Yes, absolutely. How much headroom does 1,000 watts have for that 4090?
So that's a good question. So with the 4090 and all the other components in this build, if you put it into a PSU calculator, I'm going to guess it's going to come out to around an 800 watt suggestion, 800, maybe 850. So we do have, a good amount of headroom with this 1,000 watt power supply. It's always good to have a little bit of headroom. You don't want, any component running at max potential for a long period of time.
There are two.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see here. Hashim. Hello, Hashim. Welcome in. Furlax XD asks the question, what's the most expensive PC you guys have ever built? Ooh, good question.
That is a good question. So there are a few that have been very expensive, upwards of the 10 and 15K range. Those are pretty few and far between, obviously. That's a lot of money to be spending on a PC. But maybe the most expensive one we've done is probably this desk that we're using to run the show. It was our Intel Extreme Rig Challenge back in 2018, I want to say. Maybe newer. That feels like too long ago, but maybe not. And it's basically two systems inside of a desk that we had to do a whole bunch of drilling, custom modification, and it is all cooled with an open loop. So we did a bunch of custom tube bending and all that as well.
Yeah.
In the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, Zach's probably done the most expensive ones, those big servers with 24 terabyte drives or 16 terabyte drives or 40 terabyte drives.
It is wild. Richard Grace over on the Facebook side says, I bought a nice laptop gaming PC from you guys and it works awesome. That is great to hear.
Right.
And we do offer desktops, laptops, and all sorts of fun things.
Zach's probably the one that put that together.
I got my fingerprints on it.
Let's see here. We did in 20. Yeah, wait. Can we see the desk? I don't think we can.
We don't have a good way to show it right now, but maybe we'll get some. I'm sure we have some good images of it we could throw up in the Discord.
Well, Landon, I would recommend that you get a hold of customer service. Have you called tech support yet? Okay, we're getting our final tie-up going on. In the meantime, who here is excited for everything that they announced today on the Nintendo Direct? That's going to be some incredible games. There's quite a few that got announced. I'm trying to find that right now. Guys, I know that Metroid was one of them. Nintendo Direct.
You think they'll do a Pokemon one, or does Pokemon kind of do their own thing with that?
That's a
I feel like a lot of times they kind of do it on their own stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom was announced, and you get to play Zelda as the protagonist, which is awesome.
Isn't that who we were always playing as?
No, I thought we were playing as
Princess Peach.
Yeah, Zelda, the guy with the green clothes on and everything, the Master Sword.
Oh, well, they're acting like it's fantastically new. Let's see here, Metroid 4 Beyond Gameplay. So I remember the original Metroid on Nintendo and on the original NES. And, what? Please tell me he's joking. Potatonator, I haven't played Nintendo stuff in ages. So,
Oh, man.
Mario and Luigi Brothership is jumping. Okay. He's joking and it hurts me. God dang it. Zelda gave me actually play as Zelda. Yes. Let's see here. J-Car can still ask why all PCs still get built the wrong way. You all force the head out back and should be what? J-Car, I have that. I really wish that made any sense. But since this is their job, I'm going to go ahead and just say, hey, they're doing it just fine.
Force the heat.
Just fine.
Should be. Yeah, I don't know if you're talking about a vertically mounting a GPU. That is something, but it's a little bit less common. Sounds a little angry.
But Zach, help me out here. What am I helping out with?
Oh, that you need to play as Zelda versus getting to play as Link.
Oh, I thought you played as Samus.
It has been so long. When are you going to get to the studio and build with the guys? That is an excellent question, my friend. When there's not a tornado warning.
After tornado season.
That's yeah. But Metroid, I will say this: Metroid was my best friend and I would stay up until like 4 o'clock in the morning in like high school, freshman year, just playing the living daylights out of that game because it was all just scroller style. So, speaking of scroller style, one thing that's really fun to do while we are getting our panels on is we're going to take a look and scroll through our website to see how you can get your hands on an amazing CLX gaming PC. At clxgaming.com, we make it as easy as possible for you to get the PC of your dreams. It's going to do what you want it to do, and it's going to help, we'll make sure that it does everything correctly. So, for starters, you can choose between a large, full-size raw case all the way down to an ITX case. Comes in all different shapes, sizes, designs. You can actually get them designed yourself if you want to contact customer service. We carry everything from AMD to Intel, Radeon to NVIDIA, and you get to choose all of it. Whether you want to go with 16 gigs of RAM or 128 gigs of RAM, it's all there. And the upside is you can't screw it up. And here's what I mean. So see the little blue button, the green button that says add to cart? So that'll change in the event that you get two things that aren't necessarily compatible. So the example I like to use is, say you choose a motherboard that has that's a DDR4 motherboard, but you chose DDR5 RAM. Well, it's going to say, all right, if you want to use this DDR4 board, you're going to have to choose one of these DDR4 RAMs, or if you want to use this RAM, you're going to choose a DDR5 board. Once you fix that, it goes from yellow back to green, and you're good to go. And there's so many different options of things that you can select on here. In fact, over in our Foundry area, you can figure out whether or not you want to do a liquid cooled. You can also choose whether you want to overclock the GPU, the CPU, or both, upgrade your thermal paste. Lots of things, and the best part is the very last tab, and that very last tab is our accessories area, where you can get everything from cool t-shirts like this one, our rain jackets, or basically our windbreakers, which are great. They come in gray, red, and purple. I love all of them. We also have about every possible accessory you can think of, whether you're looking for keyboards, mouse, beacon mid-screens, beacon mics, capture cards, mics, headphones, trying to think of everything, controllers, speakers. We've got pretty much everything. And we've got chairs. We even have gaming chairs. So it's an incredible opportunity to do so. And there's one thing that we haven't pointed out, and that's because some people just get overwhelmed with having to mix all the selections. And that brings us to our RTS, or ready-to-ship models, which are incredible. Now, the ready-to-ship models come in 4 different groups. There's entry-level, there's mid-range, there is the high-performance, and then there's the ultra-high-performance. And this is just different gauged ways of taking a look at the inside. So if you want to make a selection based on your price range, this is an easy way to get an idea of what is going to work out for you. These are all pre-tested and ready to find a new home, and who knows, that home might just be yours. So for all of your future PC gaming needs, head on over to clxgaming.com and see what we can do for you today. All right. Yeah, Seamus is Metroid. There we go. Hello Kitty Island Adventure, born from South Park. There. What up, Deadzilla?
What's the apocalyptic game that takes place in Russia?
Wolfenstein?
Metro City?
No.
Metro. Yeah, Metro.
It's just Metro.
Metro.
Okay. Every time you kept saying Metroid, I just shortened it to Metro. I'm like,
oh. Yep. No. Very different game. Very different game. I will. June. We have another code. It's June-24XS. JUNE, like the month, -24 X-Ray Sierra. That is awesome. One more code for the day. Now, with that being said, gentlemen, we have done some really incredible work on this. Are we ready to take a look and see how this looks?
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited. Let's do it.
Beautiful.
I really do love those fans in black.
They're
They
nice.
really do stand out. They're subtle. They aren't overpowering, but they're there. God, that looks good, especially with that stripe above the PSU shroud. That's incredible. All right, let's take once again a look at everything that went into this incredible PC for our friend Chris in Maryland. This, of course, is a Horus NV5 mid-tower in black. It's got an AMD Ryzen 9 7950X3D processor mounted on an Asus ROG Strix B650E F gaming Wi-Fi motherboard. It has 64 gigs of DDR5 6000 RAM, along with that liquid-cooled 4090 Supreme from our friends at MSI. And then, of course, you've got a 4 terabyte Crucial PCIe NVMe M.2. Your processor is being cooled on by a CLX Quench 360 closed-loop liquid cooler. And, of course, 8 different Game DS Aeolus M3 ARGB fans. And it's all being powered by a 1,000-watt EVGA Supernova G580 Plus Gold. So, now, with that being said, we've got a great show. This show happens in 2 parts, and in just a few minutes, we're going to take a break. When we come back, you're going to spend the afternoon with Zach as he continues to build some incredible machines, which is going to be a lot of fun. Keep your eye out. You may drop codes too. Now, with that being said, this show happens every Tuesday and Thursday starting at 11 a.m. That is 2 Eastern. We drop some codes on our Kick side at kick.com/CLX Gaming on Tuesdays. On Thursdays, we run it over onto the Twitch side, which is twitch.tv/CLXgamingtv. You can also find codes and check out what's going on with the latest and greatest for CLX Gaming at YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at CLX Gaming. You can also possibly find codes and a whole bunch of like-minded PC enthusiasts and gamers over at our Discord, and that's discord.gg/CLX Gaming. The other place you can find him is my channel, and my channel's got, we'll be having one today, so there we go. With that being said, I think I covered everything. Yeah, so on behalf of Kyle and Jason in production, Paul and Zach, I'm DJ Blue PDX. Don't go away. We've got more coming up after the break. We'll be right back.
Bye, everybody.
I'll get it again. Yeah. What is up, Scooby Gang? I hope everybody has had a fantastic weekend and is ready to start this week out strong. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out with me today. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to ask them out. I've got Twitch, I got KickUp, and I've got Facebook and X and all the other fun stuff going on in the background. So if you've got the question, feel free to shout it out into the universe and let me know about it. Alrighty. Today I have a Metallic Gear Neo Cube. We've got an ASRock X670E Pro RS motherboard. We're going to be dropping in an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D processor. We've got a sweet 4080 graphics card. We're going to be powering all of it with 850 watt power supply. We've got memory, we've got RAM, we've got storage devices. One of those is a 6 terabyte hard drive brought to us by Western Digital. That's Blue Edition. Brought to you by AData. We have a 2,000 gigabytes, or aka 2 terabyte NVMe drive. Our random access memory today is going to be 2 sticks of Viper at 16 gigabytes apiece. So we have 32 gigabytes at 5600 megahertz. I've got a 360 liquid cooler from Aztec that will be cooling everything off. And GameDS M2 fans today. All right. Let's grab our motherboard and start cooking. Nice. Do you know they call it 3D at the end? On the which parts? The processor. This is a Y on the CPU. So this is a stacked CPU. Essentially what that is it allows for faster transfer of all of the ones and zeros across the processor. It keeps them running fast. It's one of like AM or Ryzen has their is it Ryzen Sync, or if you have memory and a graphics card, it all can kind of read together and reads a lot faster. Essentially, the way that happens is everything is already on the same page. Your processor is on the same page as your memory, which is on the same page as your graphics card, making it to where everything is read almost simultaneously across the devices, so where it doesn't have to like load up a whole bunch of information if that information is kind of generic information. One thing I really like doing is checking our pins on our motherboard to make sure that we don't have any imperfections in those. Pins on motherboards got changed or got added to, re-added to on AMD boards with the AM5 series. So there used to be pins on the back of the processors of AMDs, so you wouldn't be able to do this. I'm not pushing forcefully, but you wouldn't be able to do that because you'd be mucking up all your pins. So ideally, you do want to keep your fingers and stuff off of the back of your processor. I'm wearing gloves so I can touch it a little bit. notice that if there was like a little speck of thermal paste or something on there, I could take a rag, I could take my shirt, give it a good wiping off, making sure that it's really clean. But yeah, ideally that just want to leave that backside clean. We've got a triangle in the top left corner of our processor here. We have a triangle on our motherboard in the top left corner, so we want to match our keys up. We want to line our keys up. Yeah, that extra cache they piled on top. That allows it to read fast. Okay. Once you install your processor, the next step I like to work on is my retention kit. Retention kits come in a bunch of shapes and sizes depending on what type of processor we are installing. There are Intel processors and AMD processors. We've got different sizes of Intels and different sizes of AMDs, AM4, AM5. And then with Intel, we have our 10th and 11th generation, and then our 12th, 13th, 14th generation. On top of those main sizes, we have Intel Extreme Editions, which is a bigger processor, just very similar to the Ryzen Threadripper. That is also big. Those guys are a little bit bigger processors, so they will use a little bit different of hardware. But we want to make sure that we use the proper hardware when installing. The code I believe is in the chat. The codes that have been said. DJ should have a couple, and my background or somewhere might have one along the way maybe for you. And just like we learned when changing a spare tire, we don't go all the way around in a circle. We want to bounce around. That applies even pressure so that we don't muck those pins up that are now on the motherboard. And when it comes to hiding our fan cable,